Frankie, will the Kings be hopping on the horse and riding into the sunset of the NBA playoffs after these final 25 games are up?
Yeah. I mean, I maybe not hopping on the horse, mind you. But no, I do think that they're in a very good spot. I mean, they're exactly where you want to be. I think if you told fans and myself included, just where the team would be going into the All-Star break, third in the West, they're 7 games over. They've already surpassed last year's win total. You take that every day. But obviously, there are some I guess, horses in the background.
Hey,
I would say you have literally the Dallas Mavericks. They're coming. They have a new look duo, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. You have the Phoenix Suns. You have the Golden State Warriors, who they have the power to move past Steph Curry's injury, I think, and still compete. There are some teams in the mix there that can challenge the Kings for a top 6 spot. I personally think that they are capable of finishing top 6. I think that they would really have to have a significant drop-off to fall out of that top 6. I think if they can play a little better than 500 basketball, that puts them around 46, 45 wins. They'll be what they want to be. But it's going to come down on the defensive end. The defensive end where they need to improve the most. That's where they need to take strides over these last 25 games, something that Mike Brown was talking about at practice yesterday. But they have the depth. They're knock on wood, they're healthy right now. Malik Monk's coming back on Thursday, and they have the pieces to make a run here.
Frankie, this is Whitey Gleason. It's great to talk with you. And
hey, Whitey, good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's incredible what you put up with here. And I just want to say, I admire, your restraint and all. But you mentioned the Warriors. We're all focused on the Clippers and Suns and Dallas. How about the teams that are behind the Kings? Are there any of those teams that you see that are in position to make a push? Maybe not to pass the Kings, but are there any of the teams that currently are behind the teams in the West that you think are poised to make a push? And as I say, I know you already mentioned the Warriors. Any other teams to keep an eye on going forward?
I think at this point you have to assume that when you bring Kevin Durant into the equation, the Phoenix Suns are going to pass the Kings. I think that barring injury, of course, I think when you look at what they have there, and Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, they still have a couple pieces up the bench. I mean, TJ Warren could be big for them if he's healthy. They're going to pass the Kings, in my opinion. I mean, the other team I think will probably pass the Kings or will challenge the Kings the most is the Los Angeles Clippers, who the Kings will see on Friday night on the second night of a back-to-back. Thanks to the NBA for scheduling the Kings a brutal back-to-back out of the break. But those are the big two to me. The Suns and the Clippers are going to be the ones that for sure will be passing the Kings or near them. And that leaves Dallas, Golden State, and the Kings to kind of battle it out for that 6th spot. So I think the Warriors, it comes down to obviously Steph Curry. How healthy will he be down the stretch? It sounds like he will be back this season. There was some worry he wouldn't be, but I do think he'll be back and he'll be impactful for them as always. Then you have some dark horse candidates. Of course, we never know about Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans. Mm-hmm. These are the teams that could bump the Kings obviously further out of that 6th spot. You have the Zion Williamson aspect. Minnesota looks different now. They have Mike Conley in the fold. Outside of those teams, though, which those aren't just a couple of names there, those are some pretty big hitters, the Kings have their hands full. And it's kind of a week-to-week basis. And Mike Brown looks at it as far as the Kings winning 5-game sets. He wants the Kings to go 3-2 every 5-game series. That's going to really be important for the Kings because a couple of bad weeks there, the Kings could fall from being 3rd in the West to 9th or 10th. I mean, even Utah's not all the way out of it yet. I was talking to some people who cover the Jazz down there. They are still kind of on the fence about the team is really capable of making a run, but they're 4.5 back with a lot of games left. So can't really count anybody out right now. I mean, even down to Portland and Los Angeles, but it kind of comes down to the Kings controlling their own destiny. Mike Brown said that yesterday too, that the Kings are in position to control their own destiny. They are in the driver's seat. They just need to win basketball games, and it comes down to that.
Sactown Sports Kings insider Frankie Cartoscelli joining us from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Frankie, in these last 25 games, one thing I've really looked at with the Kings is we know Domas is going to get his. We know De'Aaron is going to get his, but that third guy could be anybody on any given night. We've seen it be Harrison. We've seen it be Kevin Huerter. We've seen Malik Monk do it. Keegan Murray has done it before. I'm of the opinion the Kings need actual consistency on a night-in, night-out basis from who's going to be that third guy. And I think over these next 25 games, I'd love to see Harrison Barnes get a little more selfish and kind of establish himself in that position. What are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. I completely agree. I think that Harrison Barnes, he has been so good in the stretches, and we've seen it over the past 4 years as long as he's been in the Kings jersey. It's just kind of an up and down game with Harrison. And for somebody who's also entering a walk year. He'll be a free agent at the end of the season. I would expect a little more out of Harrison down the stretch of these final 25 games. I mean, it's a saying that Chris Watkins and I say again and again. When Harrison Barnes plays well, the Sacramento Kings play well, and the numbers line up. I think the Kings are I think they're 11-3 or 12-4 this season when Barnes scores 20 points or more. He is so impactful when he is on, and obviously what he can bring on the rebounding end of things too. It's just the consistency aspect of it, and that's kind of a word that the Kings have struggled with in a lot of different avenues. But that third scorer has fluctuated so much this season. But Harrison Barnes, in my opinion, needs to be that guy. He's somebody who has kind of, I think, shied away from taking some shots and some certain opportunities. And obviously the Kings struggled shooting the basketball down the final stretch going into the All-Star break. They kind of came out of it in those final games, especially Kevin Huerter. But Harrison Barnes is kind of in one of those spurts where he's scoring 10, 9, 11 points per game. The Kings need at least 15, 16 on him, in my opinion, to really kind of be where they want to be. But, yeah, I completely agree. They need Kings need more at Harrison Barnes. I mean, especially if they're going into the playoffs, they need a third contributor there that's going to put up decent numbers. And right now where Keegan Murray is in his career, I mean, I think that's something that he can definitely grow into. I wouldn't expect too much from him right now. Obviously, he's a rookie who is playing the most basketball games he's played in his life. I think in college and high school, he played 30, 35 games maximum. We're already getting near game 60. So having Harrison Barnes, a veteran who's been there before, especially for winning teams with the Warriors, he knows what to do, and he knows what he expects from himself. He needs to do it on the floor.
Frankie, Mike Brown, of course, could end up being coach of the year. What has impressed you the most about the job he's done as head coach of the Kings to this point?
I think he's bringing a winning culture. I mean, we've seen what the Kings have done over the past couple of years in hiring coaches who have some inexperience, and some of them worked out and weren't seen all the way through, like Michael Malone, and obviously he's gone on to greener pastures. But Luke Walton, George Karl, the people that came in that were people didn't really understand what the move was made for. I mean, when you look at the move for Mike Brown, he's someone who's won everywhere he's been. I mean, he's won in Cleveland with a team that had LeBron James and a couple of players that people probably couldn't really pick out of a lineup. It's impressive to see what he's done with this team as far as bringing winning culture, and the coaching staff too that's come in. Jay Triano, Jordi Fernandez, who again I think you guys mentioned earlier, he's someone that's already being looked at as a head coaching candidate around the league. Just bringing that impact to win games and never get too over your heads. I mean, during the 0-4 start to the season, fans thought the sky was falling. And Mike Brown sat in front of the media and said, yeah, I think I'm seeing a lot of good things here. I feel fine. I'm seeing a lot of things that maybe aren't showing up in the win-loss column, but I know we're close. And the Kings go on to win 7 in a row. Just that kind of confidence in this team and confidence in this group. And I think that speaks to why Monty McNair didn't make as many moves at the break. I think Mike Brown has voiced how much he likes his group. And, of course, there are some concerns with the defensive aspect of things. And Mike Brown has said that, you know, the revolving door at the backup center is a concern. But I think as a whole, he is confident in this group, and he knows he can do it this group. And that, to me, is huge. And just, again, I can't highlight enough how much the winning culture is important, because the Kings, as we know, almost 2 decades, that hasn't been here. It's very foreign, especially to me, someone who's been watching the Kings since I was really young. It's something I've never seen before. I'm just happy that it's with Mike Brown.
Frankie, sadly, our time is up. Real quick, why don't you shout out where everyone can read your stuff for Sactown Sports?
Oh, well, you can see me on Twitter. Just type in Frankie C on Twitter. It should pop up. It's a hard last name. Definitely don't look up Kings Cowboy. I won't pop up under that. Or Kid Rock. But obviously, SactownSports.com. That's where you can find my work. And I'm looking forward to the playoff run.
All right, buddy. Well, we appreciate your time. Hop on that horse, man, and get some work done, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Yeehaw. See you guys.
Oh, he'll never live that yeehaw down. That's Frankie Cartoscelli, Kings Insider for Sactown Sports.